Hello, hello. Is the mic working? Yes, I think the mic is working. Yes, the mic is working. Okay, right. So, right, my name is Sebastian Handley. I'm a songwriter, and I've tried to record this video before, but the the sound was terrible, so I'm having to re-record it in my daughter's bedroom, so I can. So hopefully it's sort of a bit audible now. Okay, so in this video, I noticed that some people on YouTube have put videos up with tips on songwriting, and they produce loads and loads of videos, and um, they all of them will have like Gibson guitars hanging on the wall behind them. They'll have a load of Fender amps lined up, or else they'll be in a room with lots of equipment, mixing desks, things like that, or else they'll have gold records hanging on the wall behind them. They're all sort of surrounding themselves with the regalia of success. Um, so I'm not going to make loads and loads of videos on songwriting. I just wanted to do one where it's just an idea puke, where I just get all of my top tips on how to write songs, and I'm just going to do one video. I'm not going to make this into a series. So all YouTubers tend to say, "Oh, like and subscribe, leave a comment." I don't care. If you're a serious songwriter, you will find this. So don't bother to like and subscribe. Let me see. So I am going to go through my. I've written sort of 20 sort of bullet points of what I think are very important things in songwriting. And if you are serious about this, it will help you. It doesn't matter what level you're at, if you're a master or if you're just starting out. If you go through these points and study them and think about them, um, it you will write better songs, providing you work hard and think seriously about the advice, the ideas that I'm giving. Um, so I don't want anything for myself at all. So let me see. Now, my name is Sebastian Handley. I was in a band called Dum Dum, then the Chandeliers. I won't give you a whole life here history, and now I've done a couple of solo albums. Um, so the albums, if you want to sort of check my work, see what sort of stuff that I do, the albums to look at would be one album called The Queen of Hearts by the Chandeliers, another album called From the Swamp by the Chandeliers, another album called Tascam by me, Sebastian Handley, and the latest album, which is called Big Stuff. And so if you listen to those, it will give you well, that's what I do. Um, my songs, what I've done, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Right. Rule number 20, I'm just going to go straight in. Rule number 20, there's nothing to it but to do it. Now, if I had postponed learning, if I had postponed the composition till after I had learned about the basics of music, I never would have done anything. You have to get an instrument, get a pen and paper, and write a song. There, don't learn about it, don't theorize about it, do it. Do being the operative word. This is about doing. Um, uh, you, that way, what happens is the early songs that you write will have a certain sort of raw energy of ignorance. Um, but then as you learn more, the songs you write will become like a diary of your knowledge, and as you mature as an artist, how you change. Some things you will jettison, some things you will emphasize and make a bigger feature of your songwriting. And so your songwriting will change as you go up. Um, it would be it is always a bit sad when you get these sort of older musicians trying to make young people's music. It just looks a bit sort of pitiful, I think. And so as your life changes, as you become a different sort of human being, the things that you're interested in writing about will change, they will evolve. But you must do it. Do not learn the basics and then do it. If you do that, that's a recipe for never doing anything. So so don't study a music theory course and then say, I'm going to start composing after I finish that. No, 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 you'll never do anything if you do that. So write a song now. Um, so one example I want to flag up here would be Grandmaster Flash's Adventures on the Wheels of Steel. This is one of the most important pieces of music of the 20th century, and now Grandmaster Flash will know more about music than he did back then, but it was his ignorance that made the breakthrough. Um, music isn't necessarily music isn't made by people by the learned or the ignorant. Music is made by the people who are learning. And so um, Grandmaster Flash, he hadn't gone to music school, and so he made the Adventures on the Wheels of Steel, um, and turned sort of music upside down by doing it. But if he had someone teach him the rules of music, that piece of music would never exist, and it changed 20th century music, I think. Lots of people that write and well, that commentate about these things really forget that piece of music, but it is important. Now, next we come to rule number 19, books. There's a couple of books I just want to flag up. I just want to talk about them. First up, here is, right, I've got a poet's rhyming dictionary, which I barely ever use now, but I have used it in the past. Um, the, a rhyming dictionary, um, there's a philosopher called Horace that said the art is in disguising the art. And so if you use a rhyming dictionary, try to make it look as if you haven't, right? If you use a rhyming dictionary and you overdose on it, you'll come out with lots of absurd rhymes that seem sort of quite forced. It's good for doing audacious rhymes. The other good thing about a rhyming dictionary is it will allow you to exclude very quickly an idea that isn't going anywhere. So if you've got an odd word that you need to rhyme something with, a a rhyming dictionary will allow you very quickly to find out if you're just going down a blind alley. And so that's the handy thing about it. It will allow you to exclude ideas that are not working very quickly. The next book I want to mention is Revolution in the Head, um, by Ian MacDonald. Just buy it. You'll If you're serious about this, you'll be familiar with the work of the Beatles, and you don't have to read the book cover to cover. Just whenever you hear a Beatles song, just read Ian MacDonald's essay on it. The book is a chronology. There's a little essay for each song, and it says it analyzes the lyrics, the tunes, and how the practicalities of how it was recorded, and it will teach you about being critical. Ian MacDonald, he is opinionated about the Beatles. He gets lots of things wrong, in my view, but he always offers a serious argument. And music is about having opinions. What do you think is valid? And this book will teach you about thinking critically about music. There's lots of great books about thinking critically and thinking critically about music, but I think that is just get that one and then see how your life goes after that. But it's good because it deals with a body of work we're all familiar with. Or you should, if you're not familiar with the work of the Beatles, like why are you here? Maybe just click on one of those other links and do something else with your life if you're not familiar with the work of the Beatles, because maybe songwriting isn't for you. Next, so right. So, yeah, Ian MacDonald, he gets a few things wrong, I think, in my opinion, but he will teach you about critical thinking. And that rule seems to contradict the previous rules where I'm saying, oh, look at this book, look at that book. But with Revolution in the Head, you can just dip into it as you go through life. That's a good thing about it. You don't postpone the songwriting to read Revolution in the Head. Next, rule number 18. So I'm working down to rule number 1. Rule number 18 is work hard to make it look easy. Now, if you look at the top athletes or comedians, what you see is that excellence is a habit. That was a quote from Aristotle. Excellence is a habit. What you have to do is you you have to really pick your wits. You have to try and try and try, and there'll be failure, failure, failure. But that's how you sort of grind it out. And there's lots of songs that appear to be very effortless, but which actually a huge amount of crafting and grafting has gone into it to really hone the lyrics to get them to flow to get lyrics to fit. Um, People like Irvin Berlin or Cole Porter, they might have made it look effortless. It wasn't. They worked hard. These people didn't just sort of have a bath and think of a brainwave. And just it fall into place. They will have toiled. Okay, so rule number 18 is work hard to make it look easy. Rule number 17 is organize your work. Now, what I mean by this is you need to get a Word document, just a Word document, and every time you have an idea for a song, write that down and write it either in chronological or alphabetical order so that this Word document becomes an encyclopedia of all of your work. I've got a Word document that I started 20 years ago and I email it to myself every 6 months. And it contains all of the rubbish half-finished songs that never went anywhere, all of the abandoned ideas. It's got all of the rubbish. It's got every terrible song that I never finished. But it's very important to organize your work. And if you email it to yourself every 6 months, then um, then you and email it to say two of your own email addresses, so that way you can never lose more than 6 months of your work. And so this Word document will be an invaluable resource, because sometimes what you'll find is you're you're smashing your head against the wall trying to solve a songwriting problem. But what you'll find is you've actually already solved a problem many years earlier, but in a different context. And there's an old idea that you can resurrect, dust it down, and plug it into the new problem that you're attempting to meet. And so the Beatles did this all the time. Like there's We Can Work It Out, or Day in the Life. They have compositional Lego blocks that they would just interchange and insert new blocks in, and the contrast can really work. And so make sure, so organize your work, have a Word document, and that Word document must be organized. So you will just constantly sort of update it whenever you're working on a song, put all of your thinking there. It might end up being a very large Word document. Mine is about 20,000 to 30,000 words, but in terms of the size of the file, it's actually a very small file because it's all just text. And so, um, so just organize your work. Next, I organize my work into the Sebastian Handley songbook. So I've got a songbook of my work, and this book gradually gets thicker as I write more songs. I add them. So this book is noticeably thicker than it was when I first published it. I do it on Amazon and I overwrite it as I write more songs. And so this has got all of my lyrics ever written, and it's in chronological order. Whereas my songwriting ideas that I send to myself, that's in alphabetical order. And so every time I finish a new song, I add it to the end of this. So there's a clear sequence and it's got all of my lyrics and everything. I'm not saying go out and buy it. It's just, I wrote it more for me than for anyone else, but it contains all of my lyrics, all of my chords. So if ever a band wanted to do a cover of my song, they can just take the book and it's got all the lyrics and the chords. And so someone could just take one of my songs and do a cover if they wanted to. Okay. Next, so organize your work. I've done. What were we up to? Rule number 16, have good heroes. Okay. So respect people that actually do it. I once had a friend called Justin who was growing dope plants, and he said to me, everyone who will tell you this or that about growing dope plants, they will tell you got to do this, you got to do that. He says only listen to the people that actually do it, and it's a bit of advice that stuck with me. So have good heroes and make sure your heroes are people um, that actually do it. So if you're into Bob Dylan, if you're into Burt Bacharach, if you these are people that do it. They're not theorists, okay? And so have good heroes. Um, there can be learning without a teacher, but there can be no learning without a learner. So you must teach you, okay? Ultimately, to be the greatest, you must be self-taught. You can't be the best and have someone tell you how to get there. Um, you have to blaze your own trail. You have to walk your own path, but you have to have good heroes to get you on your way. And next, rule number 15: model songs. Um, now, in the document that I send to myself, at the beginning of that document is a list of model songs. They're just songs that I hope to imitate the quality of these songs. And so they're songs that I by people who I really respect. I'm just going to read the list of them. Okay, so I mean, these are just a couple. When I came to make this video, I thought, okay, I'm going to write a list of songs that I really respect. And so model songs are Ave Maria by Schubert, Die Musik by Schubert, The Look of Love by Burt Bacharach, Wondrous Place by Billy Fury. I can't remember who wrote it. Love is the Sweetest Thing by Al Bowley. That was written by Noble. The Very Thought of You by Al Bowley, again written by Noble. Noble's a very underrated songwriter. Begin the Beginning, Cole Porter. You Are the Sunshine of My Life, Stevie Wonder. My Cherie Amour, Stevie Wonder. I Can't Believe It's Over by the Funk Master. Baby I'm Yours by Breakbot. My Guy by Mary Wells. And The First Girl I Loved by the Incredible String Band. Now, these are just a list of songs that I think are just of the top rank. These are high-ranking songs, and these are songs. They're very different songs, but these are the songs that I think, right, that is the sort of quality of work that I want to do. And so, at the beginning of your word file that you send to yourself every 6 months, have have this list of model songs, and it will remind you of the sort of quality and the level that you hope to achieve in your life. Next, I would recommend working on several different songs at the same time. So it can get really frustrating. You're just bashing your head against the wall trying to sort of overthink something. Work on writing a fast song and a slow song simultaneously. Work that way, or work on writing a loud song and a quiet song simultaneously. Work on writing happy song, sad song, dissonance, melodic. So work on different songs simultaneously. That way, you won't have a problem song causing a roadblock. And when you flip from one to the other, it will catch you by surprise. There'll be the shock of, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. It will be the mind meeting something for a new first time, and and so that way you'll keep taking yourself by surprise. So for example, if a producer or musician is listening to the same snare drum 100 times, it makes it very difficult to judge that snare drum. And so you've sort of got to go off and listen to something else, give your ears a rest or give your mind a rest, and then come back and listen to it again. So if you work on several different songs at the same time, it will keep you it will you keep bouncing from objective to subjective. If you're just looking at one problem all the time, you're sort of in the subjective introverse, and you can get sort of trapped in there. Okay, rule number 13: always be on the lookout for a good song. So in society, what we find is when we go about our lives, there's all sorts of phrases that we hear that come to us, and like if there's food on the table, someone might say, "Get it while it's hot," or they might say, "Oh, for goodness sake," or sports commentators are tend to be very good at coming out with a cogent phrase that really sums up an event. Or the other day, I heard someone say, "It's not my first rodeo." And the other day, my daughter said, "Well, that's what you get." Or there's a book by Trollope or Thackeray. It's called The Way We Live Now. All of these examples I've just given you are very economic phrases. For goodness sake, not my first rodeo, that's what you get. These are phrases that are killer for songs. Like someone would have said to Brian Wilson when he was very young, oh, God only knows. And it's obviously stuck with him. And it became like the hook for a masterpiece song. And so I won't go down that rabbit hole of that right now, because I want to sort of get through it. But a good songwriter, as they make their way through life and as they make their way through society, they will surround themselves with people that say interesting things, and they will be interested by those things, and these phrases will stick in their minds, sometimes for decades. There's phrases I remember when I was very young, and the fact that I remember them shows that they would be compelling if they were the first line of a chorus or the first line of the first verse of a song. And so be on the lookout for phrases around you in society. And And whenever you hear a phrase like, for goodness sake, or that's what you get, think about how the think about the inherent tonality and the inherent rhythm within those words, and how it might so easily become a line of a song. Next, rule number 12. If you want to be interesting, be interested. Right? That's something that was said to me once by a great DJ called Sash Jones, and it stuck with me. If you want to be interesting, be interested. Notice how people that are bored of stuff, what do? And so someone goes, boring. Well, show me your work. And so if you want to be interesting, be interested. So when you hear a great song, look up who wrote it. Maybe they did other great songs. Um, Most great songwriters are not one-hit wonders. And so um, when be interested, say, oh, I wonder who wrote that, and be interested in, well, what is a song? A song is words and music. So you've got to be interested in words. Let's say Dylan was interested in Ginsberg, for example, and you've got to be interested in tunes, and just listen for the tunes or the natural cadences that are within your normal language, and you've got to be, if you find your tunes are getting samey, think, oh, right, okay, I'm going to look at Japanese music, I'm going to look at Hindu music, something like that. Or, or one good thing is to say, write haikus, because that will teach you to be ultra economic in your language. Be interested in writers that don't write songs. Um, so there could be a poet, or lots of stuff I get from sports commentators. I heard a sports commentator say about Nadal and Federer. He said, "Oh, Nadal's really got Federer's number." And one of my better songs I've written recently, it's called "You've Got My Number." And so these phrases are about us in society, and we've got to just unearth them. Johnny Marr was very interesting. He said he grew up in quite a sort of grim place, part of Manchester, and he said you've got to try and find the beauty that's in there. And so if you play 3 or 4 notes, there will be a masterpiece in there, but you've got to try and unearth it. You've got to try and discover it. So if you want to be interesting, be interested. Next, rule number 11. Who will sing it? What are you or they good at? And if you look at people like Iggy Pop or Marky Smith or Astrid Gilberto or Billie Holiday, these people didn't have conventionally great voices, but they worked out how to get the voice to work with the content. And so they they managed to design and compose in such a way that it worked really well with their voice. I mean, I know that Astrid Gilberto, Billie Holiday didn't write their songs, but but think about the end performance and how the composition. Um, what you need is a feedback between now and the future, and so you've got to think, right, there's an endpoint I want to get to, but you don't just think about the endpoint. You've got to keep looking from the endpoint to now to try and get one to inform the other. Next, rule number 10, no bullshit style games. Even if you're writing a silly song, be serious about it. Okay. If you want to waste your life, get some cool producer, some sort of funky person that's got a machine that makes weird noises no one's ever heard before. It's nothing to do with having this or that wacky noise, right? Um, don't play games. Uh, it's it's not about tricking people into thinking that you're great. Okay. Um, I don't really have any more to say about that. Rule number 9: aim high. The the greatest songwriters of all time are what you should be seeking to emulate. Not this or that person that got a Tony Award last week. Not someone that's got a gold disc. Not someone that's got loads of streams or stuff like that. If With this video, I cannot tell you how to get streams, likes, sales, social approval, awards, or fame or fortune. I can't tell you any of that because I've never achieved that myself. We're interested in something that's far more important than that. We're interested in, like, why do you live? What are you going to do with your life? What is the point of you existing, and why uh, wh- at the end of your life, what you're going to have to show for it? And so you must aim high. You don't want to be there dying and say, "Oh, I became famous. I got lots of money." Um, uh, you've got to high ambition. I'm on a mission. Okay. Next, rule number 8. This is a favorite of mine. Edit. Okay. All the greats could edit. Is why I don't like prog music. The greatest advice I had on editing was from a brilliant drummer I knew called Steve Dixon, and he explained this to me about editing. Now, watch very carefully. That was his rule on editing. I'll show you once again in case you missed it the first time. So by that, it means you make it smaller, you cut out all the rubbish, and then that's good. And so that's why you've got to work on haikus. That's why you've got to cut rid of all of the trash. Do you really think people want to listen to the same 4 chords played 16 times before you start singing? No, they don't. There's a lot of music in the world. They could be listening to something else. It's got to grab from the first second to the last second. That's why most of the songs I write are like 1 minute 20 seconds. Um, th- 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 there is no time to test people's patience. Um, you Most songs you can get the general idea out very, very quickly. And there is something that I call Led Zeppelin syndrome, where you get musicians that have great, tremendous ability. And because they have such superb musical ability, it renders them sort of incapable of editing their work. And so if you look at Whole Lot of Love or rock and roll music by Led Zeppelin, these songs are 5 minutes when they should be 2 minutes. Um, they're a great band. They're a truly great band. They've sold millions. I've sold nothing. But how many Led Zeppelin songs are too short? None. Okay, so I don't want this to be a sort of a Led Zeppelin diss, but edit. That is my problem with prog music. It tests the patience of people. I don't have any time for patience testing. Right, okay, hold on. Okay, sorry, just a little interruption there. Right, so rule number 7, what do you think? Okay, you've got to find your way. I've got my way of doing it. You might have another way of doing it. Okay, you have to make up your own mind. Um, if you ask people what they think, um, well, you've got to be able to judge your own work. You've got to have the sort of BS detector that the Beatles had. You've got to um, you've got to ask yourself, okay, what am I trying to say here? Um, where am I trying to go with this? Okay, and you've got to ask yourself, okay, what 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 values, what is important to me? Next, rule number 6, it's simple to be clever, but it's clever to be simple. And this comes from, I think, a great songwriter called Jules Stein. Um, any idiot can add loads of postmodern references and stuff like that. Don't bother with any of that. Okay, a song like My Guy by Mary Wells is much better than a song like Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads, because um, it's simple and Psycho Killer is clever. Um, Next, rule number 5, hate it till you love it. I went to a lecture many years ago with Charles Jenks, Robert Venturi, and Denise Scott Brown when they were talking about postmodernism. And Robert Venturi and Charles Jenks, they were waffling on about sort of narrative and historical references and postmodernism. And lots of architecture offices have like a woman that works there who's basically the brain of the office, and the man gets all the acclaim. And they said, "Oh, well, Denise, do you want to say something?" And and Denise Scott Brown, she stood up and she said, "Hate it till you love it." Now, how many speeches can you remember verbatim 30, 40 years after you first heard them? not many. And so I've never forgotten Denise Scott Brown saying, hate it till you love it. Okay. Next, rule number 4, you've got to master the boring stuff. For example, you've got to be able to use a silly example. It might sound stupid to some people, but you've got to be able to learn to use apostrophes, because when you use an apostrophe in a line of lyrics, you change the number of syllables from odd to even or from even to odd. And it's crucially important that the lyrics flow. Every line has got to be a delight for the vocalist to look forward to. And if it don't flow, it don't go. If it doesn't sit, it won't fit. The lyrics have got to flow like water. There's very few songs that where they don't flow. A great example of a song that doesn't flow lyrically would be Bike by Sid Barrett, where the whole point is that it's this sort of car crash of sort of, I've had it for months, and the lyrics just are just like a car crash. But so you've got to be a master of the boring stuff. Got to learn to tune guitars, stuff like that, and you've got to check all your equipment. You've got to really prepare for every gig and prepare for what you do. But so you've got to have a certain amount of competence with boring things, okay? But don't let that overtake, or else you could end up just this technophilia of modern music, where everyone has computers that can make a million different sounds, and everyone just sounds the same, and everyone sounds boring. All modern music is boring. There's no tempo change. There's no, it's all in the same dynamic range. Um, they all People aren't ambitious. They would rhyme 2 words. Each of those words is 1 syllable, and they rhyme the vowels. They don't rhyme the consonants. This is unambitious and it's boring. A great songwriter will rhyme several words that are multisyllable, and they'll rhyme the consonants. Um, they'll show ambition. Okay. Um, so um, so you need a certain degree of competence. This is rule number 3, a certain degree of competence. So change instruments if you're getting a bit boring. And so I was fighting on acoustic guitar for a long time. Now that I've got an electric guitar and I use that all the time, it means that I'm playing faster because I can change chords faster. So it means that my songs have changed a bit. And so I might start to write using keys a bit more, just to freshen it up if I find I'm getting boring, which I often am. Okay, so rule number 2. So we're getting to the end rules now. So rule number 2: restrict your freedoms. Um, right, there is no great postmodern music. It's all just cynical music. It's BS by professors for professors, which has no sense of purpose. All great music demonstrates a mastery of very specific themes. Give each song a very narrow remit and exert total control over it. And so if you listen to a piece of music like Bach's Passion of St. Matthew's, at first it's just bewildering how one mind could have assembled such a thing. But what Bach will have done is he will have assembled 70 or 80 Lego blocks, musical Lego blocks, and he will have composed using those. So he will have composed a general using these individual musical Lego blocks. And so each one of those, he will have exerted complete total mastery over that specific problem. So he will have brought his whole mind, his whole intellect to bear on a specific songwriting problem. When that's done, "Oh Never Sing to Me Again," that is the block that's done. And so he would fit that into the rest. So you have to restrict your freedoms. A common idea in the West is that freedom is like a party, it's like pleasure, it's like drinking and having fun. I'm much more impressed by the sort of Kantian idea that freedom is a grave moral responsibility that you cannot escape from. And so when I record, I use a little Tascam dictaphone, and I use that for everything. It's got to be one take, or else it goes in the bin. Right, so I don't give myself the luxury of splicing together the good beginning of one and the good ending of another. I restrict my freedoms. Um, I don't do overdubs. I don't use effects. I try to absolutely exclude anything that's extraneous. So I try to restrict my freedoms. So every single piece of music I might make is very, very elemental, and you get this a lot with some of the greatest music. So I come from a hip hop background, and if you look at great bits of music like "Bring the Beat Back" by Steady B, "Double Trouble" live at the Emperorville Theatre, um, yeah, I'm trying to think. There's lots of the basic, bit, great monuments of hip hop, like the first Run DMC album. These would be very, very simple, elemental pieces of music. The freedoms that were restricted. They did a very good job of a very small number of things, and so that is crucial. Restrict your things, right? Okay. Let me see now. Oh yeah, some other examples would be the first School D album, Freewheeling album by Bob Dylan, or the Nebraska album by Bruce Springsteen. These are albums where the artists really restricted their freedoms, and they didn't have 1,000 different types of reverb to use. I'm now coming on to rule number one, and then I'm going to end the video. So I'm not going to say anything about rule number one. I'm just going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to press stop, and then that will be the end of this video. I hope you liked this video. Hope it's been of use to you. Okay, rule number one. The most important thing about music is that music is about the most important thing.